Hey, Doc, take up a good look at Ginger Holden there. Look over her left and right shoulder at that Hilton Head, South Carolina tree line. That's a golf course on the back side of the window there.
It looks very nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's really under pressure down there, you know.
Well, good for her for taking some time off to be with her family.
Extra blessing. The lady we rented from offered us 2 more days at no charge. So
Whoa.
okay.
Hey, absolutely.
I want to apologize in advance if my energy's a little low tonight. I'm not feeling very well. I know you
Uh-oh.
know, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I guess if you've been down there bunny dancing on the beach, down there with all the rest of those dealers, and chasing them golf balls down, I'd be kind of tired and feeling bad too. I can tell you, recommend at the first circle where 378 comes in, where the toll highway goes in, there's a restaurant on the back side of that first building known as Fat Babies. Now, if you want, that's a mom and pop's local pizza sub sandwich parlor, the most supreme you've ever put on your dentures.
That's where we ate our first night.
Is that right?
I love wood-fired pizza.
Yeah, buddy. They are great.
Yeah.
Well, we're at 6 p.m. and it looks to me, in terms of everybody whose pictures are up or names are up on the screen, that we'll have a quorum. I do know that Dr. Tracy McAbee, Superintendent of Carter County Schools, is joining us tonight for both Health and Welfare and Building and Grounds. And Commissioner Holdren sent out an email earlier this afternoon about requesting that Health and Welfare and Building and Grounds go first. So I would suggest that we do that. And Commissioner Holdren, if you have no objection, I've looked at both of our agendas, and if we can dispense with Health and Welfare first, and we can move in, and you can put Dr. McAbee up wherever you want in his agenda, so his time with us will be complete and he can exit and do what he needs to do. Put out fires at the Carter County school system.
Yeah.
Check on COVID.
For sure, for sure. So if no one has any objections, I'll call Health and Welfare to order at 6:02 p.m. And as everybody knows, and as Abby flashed up on the screen as it was recorded, we're meeting vis-a-vis Zoom or some other way of calling in by the general public, and also for commissioners. There is no one place that we are all gathered, as so cited by the Executive Order number 60 by the governor. So we are adhering to being able to access and communicate and conduct business, as well as Carter County citizens being able to be a part of that as well. So with that in mind, Gwen, if you would, do you mind calling the roll? And I assume we can use it throughout the night for the other 3 meetings as well.
Randall Jenkins.
Here.
Mike Hill.
Here.
Robert Acuff.
Here.
Brad Johnson.
Here.
Kelly Collins in for Thomas Prophet.
Here.
Ginger Holdren.
Here.
Sonja Culler.
Here.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Here.
Okay, I think we have a quorum. Is that correct, Gwen?
Everyone's here.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to make it complete, as each of you know, we have 2 representatives that are not a part of the regular committee. And so with that in mind, I would need a motion for, or to accept Kelly Collins from the city district to sit in, that's the 8th district, and Sonja Culler for the 7th District to be a part of tonight's agenda and discussion.
Chairman, I'll make that move.
Who made that motion? It was,
I think Isaiah might have beat me to it. I'll second his.
okay, thank you. So Gwen, please note that Commissioner Grindstaff made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Hill. I guess in keeping with our electronic instructions, you'll need to call the roll unless there's any discussion. So hearing none, if you'll call the roll to accept them to sit in tonight for the 7th and 8th districts.
Randall Jenkins, Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Randall didn't vote.
He's on, I
Uh,
yeah.
see him.
Sorry, my phone, I had a phone call come in. It cut my Zoom out for a second.
Okay, so I assume your vote's a yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So it's
Thank
unanimous.
you.
The agenda has already been distributed. So the next item is to approve the agenda. So if there's a motion and a second to do so,
Motion to approve.
by Commissioner Hill,
Second.
second by Commissioner Culler. Any discussion or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, Gwen, please call the roll to approve the agenda.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. Next item on the agenda is welcoming our new members to Health and Welfare. We are very appreciative that Commissioner Grindstaff agreed to join us. He's been involved particularly in the health and welfare as well as building and grounds and others committees that make up these four before. And he's also been very instrumental on our broadband discussions. And I appreciate him choosing us over the other committees that he could have chosen. So Commissioner Grindstaff, thank you, and we welcome you. In absentia tonight, Commissioner Thomas Profit is excited to join us as well. I talked with him over the weekend. As I indicated, he is attending a family event tonight, and Commissioner Collins is sitting in for him. So thank you all, both of you, for joining us, and we appreciate your input and efforts going forward for health and welfare. Item number 6.
You missed public comments.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you,
No problem.
Commissioner. I didn't see public on here, but if there are public on the line that I don't see, we'll open it up to public comments. So if anyone would like to speak to members of health and welfare, you have an opportunity to do so. All right, seeing or hearing none, it's closed to public comment. Item number 6, election of chair and vice chair. So nominations are open for chair of health and welfare.
Nominate Robert Acuff.
Okay, Acuff has been nominated. Are there others?
I make a motion, we cease nominations.
Second.
Okay, so thank you. Will any discussion or, okay, hearing none, we'll vote on ceasing nominations. Gwen, will you call the roll on ceasing nominations for chair, please?
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Keller,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Thank you all. I appreciate being elected again to chair health and welfare. We've been I think a great committee, and I've enjoyed leading it and working with each of you as well as the other 3 committees that we are involved in. So thank you. My floor is now open for vice chair nominations.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, even though that you were the only candidate nominated, it still has to have a voice vote per individual of the committee to confirm it before we go on to the vice president.
Yes, so corrected. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. So to approve the chair-elect, if there are no further discussion, Gwen, you can call the roll to do that.
Randall Jenkins,
Yeah.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Keller,
Yes.
and Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for catching that. Thank you all again for putting me in as chair. Now we will open the floor for vice chair nominations. Don't everybody jump forward here.
Well, I'm not a permanent member of this, but I would like to nominate Mike Hill.
Okay, Commissioner Hill has a nomination from Commissioner Culler.
I'll make a motion that nomination cease.
Okay, Commissioner Grindstaff makes a motion, nomination cease. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, I think Commissioner Collins or Commissioner Holdren. At any rate, Gwen, call the roll for ceasing nominations. Please.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Keller,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Okay, thank each of you. That was unanimous. So in keeping with our rules of order, Gwen, if you'll call the roll for Vice Chair-elect Mike Hill to install him into that position.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Keller,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Thank you all. Congratulations to Commissioner Hill. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Next item on the agenda, before we get into broadband discussion, is a resolution honoring Mayor Rusty Barnett and naming the Butler First Responder Station after him. And because it is such an important resolution, Attorney Hardin's on the line. Josh if you don't mind, I'd like for you to read that into the record so it is recorded.
Sure, and sorry, the video capabilities are eluding me at the moment, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right. This is a resolution honoring the life of Mayor Rusty Dale Barnett and his service to the citizens of Carter County, and dedicating the fire EMS substation in Butler, Tennessee in his honor. Whereas Russell Rusty Dale Barnett was born on September 6, 1955 in Elizabethton, Tennessee, the son of John and Imogene Campbell Barnett. Whereas Mr. Barnett was a 1973 graduate of Hampton High School and attended Northeast State Community College. Whereas Mr. Barnett worked for 2 years with the Carter County Sheriff's Office before finding his true calling at the Elizabethton Fire Department, where he served the citizens of Carter County and Elizabethton for 38 years, attaining the rank of Deputy Fire Chief. And whereas during his off-duty hours at the Elizabethton Fire Department, Mr. Barnett found additional ways to make significant contributions to his community and Carter County by serving in other roles, such as court bailiff for the Carter County Sheriff's Department and as chairman of the Carter County School Board. Whereas Mr. Barnett also found the time to serve in other ways, such as his roles as substitute school teacher in the school system, a coach for various local baseball, basketball, and football teams. It seems wherever there was a need in Carter County, Rusty would find a way to fill that need. And whereas upon his retirement from the Elizabethton Fire Department, after such a long and successful career as a public servant, Mr. Barnett could have simply spent his days relaxing, but instead he was sworn in as mayor of Carter County on the very same day of his retirement. Whereas Mr. Barnett was beloved as mayor and fiercely advocated for the citizens of not just Carter County, but all of Northeast Tennessee through his service on the many local and regional boards associated with his office. Whereas Mayor Rusty Barnett passed away on September 21, 2020, and will be greatly missed by all who knew him. Whereas his dedication to his community and the citizens of Carter County during his life clearly illustrates that he had a servant's heart and a deep love for the people of Carter County, and his legacy of serving others is an example for us all. And whereas it is appropriate for the Board of County Commissioners to honor those whose selfless public service has benefited their community and the citizens of Carter County in significant ways. And whereas as an additional tribute to Mayor Barnett, due to his instrumental efforts in establishing the fire EMS substation in Butler, Tennessee, the Board of County Commissioners also desires to formally dedicate the substation in his honor. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners for Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this the 19th day of October 2020, the lawful quorum of said board being present with the majority voting in the affirmative as follows. Number one, the board hereby adopts this resolution to formally recognize and honor the life of Mayor Rusty Dale Barnett and his service to the citizens of Carter County during his lifetime. Number two, that the board hereby officially dedicates the fire EMS substation in Butler, Tennessee in his honor and designates said substation as the Mayor Rusty Barnett Memorial Substation. This resolution is to take effect from and after the date of its approval, the welfare of the county demanding.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Chairman, I'll second that.
Okay. Commissioner Mike Hill makes the motion to approve. Commissioner Randall Jenkins, the second. Any discussion? I do want to thank Commissioner Hill for reaching out and suggesting that we name the station in Butler in Rusty's honor. And I really appreciate Josh Harden writing the resolution honoring Rusty's life as well as naming the station for him. I think it's very appropriate that this come from the Health and Welfare Committee, because Rusty was not only a true servant, but a first responder at heart. And if there's nothing more than a health and welfare of the county, our first responders lead that way every day. So let's be thankful for Rusty's life. Let us be thankful for what our first responders do, and let us pray for their safety, their family safety every day. So thank each of you for that. Any other further discussion or opinions? Hearing none, Gwen, call the roll to approve the resolution, please.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
yes,
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Tanja Culler,
yes,
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Thank you. That's unanimous. It will come before the commission, county commission, at our next meeting later in this month. I think it's the 21st of October. So thank you for doing that. Our next item of discussion is broadband. As each of you know, we have been chasing that horse for a while with some good results, I believe. I asked Dr. Tracy McAbee to join us this evening. And also Ken Ray is on the line, who's been a part of the discussions and our seeking of grant funds. Today, you should have received from me a email communication from Brad Shield, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Ridgeline. Attorney Harden has already reached out to him for a memorandum of understanding. I think that's under view at Ridgeline to see if they are going to be our partners in going forward with broadband. I also sent out in the email an agenda, which isn't really an agenda item, but another individual that reached out to us from another organization, and we need to decide if we want to entertain a Zoom call with them, or do we feel fairly comfortable about moving forward with Ridgeline and whoever their partner will be to get this ball rolling on where we're going next with broadband in Carter County. So the floor is kind of open for discussion.
Chairman, I think it would be prudent to hear from the new entry, just because I'm not entirely certain we covered all of the rural areas, and we should at least see if there are more undiscovered dark cables running in places we weren't aware of.
Like it. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, we've discovered a lot since we started this process, and who would have known that there were so many fiber cables running through Carter County that nobody knew about, supposedly. So I think that's been a wonderful discovery in itself. If it is the desire of the committee, I will reach out to the additional party and talk with them about setting up a Zoom call. And obviously it will be, I'll send out several dates that they might propose and see if we can do that. So Commissioner Hill, you want to put that in the form of a motion to reach out to the fourth vendor?
Certainly, I'll make a motion that we set up a Zoom call and basically hear what they have to say.
Chairman Acuff.
All right. Trying to look at my notes here. I've got notes on this particular subject all across my living room and everywhere else. We had a motion and a second. Commissioner Hill was the primary, and I think it was Commissioner Jenkins was the secondary. Wanted to oh yeah. Pardon me, as I found my notes. I couldn't remember the gentleman's name. It's Jonathan West, and he is with Iris Networks. You can find them at twinlakes.net. Problem with that is that that is a front company for broadband and other services, so you really can't find out a whole lot about Iris Networks or Twin Lakes or Trilight.net. So that will be a discovery call for us to do. And if the motion passes, I'll reach out to Jonathan and make sure that we find a date that many people can at least attend and be a part of the discussion. So Gwen, if there's no further discussion or comment, hearing none, Gwen, if you'll call the roll to entertain a Zoom call with Mr. West of twinlakes.net.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you. I guess the next discussion item would be the importance of broadband. And I talked with Dr. Maccabee earlier today. He was our speaker at Kiwanis Club and did a fantastic job in talking about Carter County schools and where his vision is for it, as well as where we are currently. And one of the things that he mentioned, not only poverty, which we all know is a holdback for education and being able to move the education process forward, but he also mentioned broadband. And Tracy, if you don't mind, I'd like to just ask you, I know that you're all providing devices to many of our school kids in Carter County schools, but just speak on, if you will, the importance of broadband in your opinion and how it will advance the opportunities for distance learning and education in general.
Thank you. And welcome, or hello, good evening to ladies and gentlemen. Some of you I've been in meetings with before, so it's good to see you again. And then I think I'm seeing some new faces there. So I'm glad to meet you tonight as well. You know, the idea of access to broadband really is beginning to be one of the biggest equity issues that we have in rural Appalachia, for the fact that as we move toward a bit more distance learning or blended learning, these different things, if you don't have access to that, you're hamstrung. That family is. The thing we've noticed is as we've given out the devices, we would go up and hand those out at Cloudland. They would distribute them, and then we'd get feedback. And this is all new to me. This is old hat for all of you, I'm sure. But folk up in Buck Mountain and different places, I said, well, let's try to get them a hotspot with Verizon or Sprint or something like that. And then, of course, I get the information then out of my infinite wisdom that there's not even that type of service up there. I mean, there's not even broadband, but not cellular service or anything for a hotspot. So that group that tends to be most vulnerable anyway, I think this lack of access to broadband hamstrings them even more. And so it begins to be this perpetual cycle, and it gets exponential in how much behind the eight ball they get. So when Mr. Acuff told me that you had written a grant, or y'all were pursuing a grant or whatever, I was very excited. And at the school level or the central office level, anything we can do on our end to provide data, to do any type of write-up for that, anything that could help get broadband for the areas that do not have it, I'm more than willing to do that, and very excited to hear all the ideas you have to help out. I mean, other than that, I think we all know the issues of if you don't have internet access, just, you know, how that can hurt a family, not just students, but family discussion, family ideals, all these different things that happen with that or revolve around what used to be a newspaper is now a computer device and that type of thing. So I'll begin to ramble when we get into education stuff, so I apologize. But the equity issue is the biggest issue that I see. And I don't know if that answered your question, Mr. Acuff, at all. I may have just rambled.
No, you did. I think it's a needed technology that we don't currently possess. And in full disclosure, Commissioner Hill and I paid a visit to Little Milligan Elementary yesterday morning to talk with J.R. Campbell. And Mike, if you want to give the crux of that discussion, I think JR had a great idea on how we make this focus and how we get everyone's attention as the surveys that we need to distribute and we need to get back. So I'll just turn it over to you, and you don't need to tell all the stories JR told us, although many of them were humorous.
I'll just start by saying that J.R. Campbell is a legend up there. I don't know. Anyway, don't fire him and don't do anything with him. I think he's perfect. But anyway, one of my favorite people. We had a visit with him yesterday, talked about what we were trying to get accomplished here. Many of his students have nothing. In District 2 up here in Roan Mountain, it's over half the households. In Pogie and Elk Mills, he said he had kids that were coming to the schoolhouse to try to access. And for some of them, that's quite the drive because, the county doesn't end at Little Milligan. It actually goes clear up to the North Carolina state line. So some of those folks are coming 45 minutes just to get to the school. And he and his assistant principal both described the diminishing returns with the copper lines that went to the furthest reaches, not being sufficient for the kids that, they may have a DSL connection, but it's pretty poor at the end of the lines up there. Anyhow, Mr. Campbell agrees we need to make somewhat of a public push, do a press release and a publicity campaign, possibly using the kids and the families and talking about how this is going to be as important as when they got water service back in the day and some other things. And we propose to hopefully use your school facilities to distribute surveys. The surveys become very important in this process. As Mr. Shields explained to us during the last discovery call we had, each survey that is filled out that indicates that there would be service takers at a certain price level and, that there's a need, that they don't have another option, that they would subscribe to service up to a certain speed level or whatever. When those are taken before the board at these cooperatives, for decisions based on funding, each of those surveys is looked at as basically an amount of matching funds, because they assess what the window of recovery of their matching fund investment would be. And based on what we've been told, we think that's probably like a year or 10 months or something like that, the window of recovery for the organizational investment to match whatever grant we can qualify for. So the survey and the number of well filled out returns on the survey becomes real important in trying to capture matching funds that come from somewhere other than the general fund, in the way of funding from a potential partner. How am I doing, Bob? I'm going to let you have it back.
Right. And I think as I talked with Tracy at Kiwanis today, a couple of issues here. We want to drive the importance to our kids. It's all about the kids.
Absolutely.
And being able to access distance learning, whether they're want to do distance learning at Milligan or Northeast or King College or ETSU. And in this environment, we know that to have a LAN or a fiber-based optics system is going to improve and produce a different result than then driving down to one of our schools and trying to use the boosted Wi-Fi system. It just doesn't work that well. And then it all opens up a whole bunch of other things, not only for that, but for telemedicine and economic development. But I think the picture for this, as JR laid it out, and I think Mike and I both agreed with him, as I told Tracy, the picture of this is our kids.
Mhm.
It's got to be about the kids. They've got to have the access. And I think that's what drives the engine, if you will, for broadband and fiber-based networks. He suggested that I think there's going to be a new edition of Carter County Tomorrow or Carter County Today or whatever the publication they put out from the Star with his picture on the front. And he said, he begged the Star, he said, I don't want to be the poster boy. I don't want to be on the front. He said, and he told Mike and me, why don't y'all talk with Delaney Scalf, who y'all know is the editor and publisher of the Star, and get him to put pictures of kids excited about the opportunity of having connectivity and broadband accessibility come into their home and to their community. And I think it would be great if we could do that. And I'm sure Delaney would welcome that switch-in plan before that publication gets out there. But Tracy, we would need your blessing, and we would also, Mike, come up with a simplified form that JR was talking about yesterday to make sure that we adequately get the data that we need to hand over to Brad Shields at Ridgelink in order for them to use that as part of any grant application. And it will drive the engineering too, in terms of where fiber-based lines are, as well as fiber-based lines need to be to homes and other entities.
Absolutely. Anything like that, we can give that to the families, and we can also help input that data into some kind of document if that makes that more easy for your guys there at Ridgelink to use. So anything we can do, we can get the information out. We can input the data, whatever you need from us, we're more than willing to do.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts or discussion around this particular topic, opinions?
Talk right to Brad Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Couple things. We presently have Wi-Fi at Little Middleton School. Is that correct? I understand that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there accessibility on Highway 321 from the North Carolina line to Elk Mills? I'm not knowledgeable of it enough to. Is there any line run through there at all? Other than, is there DSL on that state highway line?
There may be DSL, and certainly Comcast is in that area, but it's a copper-based system. And so, as you know, as it gets further away from the source, the ability to transmit data falls off. Commissioner Grindstaff, if you have a comment, please weigh in here, because you're pretty knowledgeable in this arena and know where much of this infrastructure is throughout the county.
The only thing that I would add, Mr. Chair, is DSL. Like you said, as it keeps going up Highway 321, that diminishes quite a bit. I know some individuals that actually live around the area of Little Milligan Elementary, and when they do have internet, it's a blessing, but most of the time they don't. The signal's just not there, just not capable of carrying them. I also know that, as you stated, I think Comcast is their service provider, and that only runs so far as well. And even they experience the issues with, diminishing returns when, the farther away you get. So coming back from the North Carolina line up that way, I really don't think that you have very much internet at all. Cellular, we like to think of as the Band-Aid fix for some of this, but I don't even think that they have cellular up that way either. I know two of the individuals that I have, they both have Verizon, and not knocking Verizon, but just in that area, around Little Milligan Elementary, there's very little to no cell service, even with Verizon in that area. I think Sprint, maybe AT&T gets a little bit, but still not enough to carry the bandwidth of what we'd be talking about. So,
Thank you. Yeah, I know when we were up there yesterday, I have Verizon. I lost signal once I got to Little Milligan Elementary School. And I'm sure it's worse going up to Pogie, and certainly the internet service there would be sparse at best. So,
and one thing I will add is some of these individuals that I know of, you know, I've known for quite a long time, and they rely on they're relying on internet to provide home communications to family members. So, you know, you think of instead of being able to use a cell phone because there's no cell provider, sometimes you can get DSL, sometimes you can get a home phone, sometimes you can't. Sometimes, you know, they're having to try to use a cell phone to try to communicate, and they just don't have these options. So, you know, we're talking about not only, you know, you were mentioning Dr. Mackey for the kids for internet and activity and being able to extend that out, but we're talking about lifeline communications as well to these homes of just being able to receive one calls, being able to receive information and notifications, and that's a very important piece on top of that, the communications piece.
yeah, thank you, sir. Ken, Ray, you have any comments or input into this particular part of the discussion?
One thing that I'm watching very closely is some of the grants are coming out with language that right now 25.3 is the speed you have to be below. And there's some discussion of changing that and on some of these projects. And I think once we get above that, it would really help an area that you had DSL before. So.
Okay, and I did hear today, I don't know if anyone else heard it, but David Hawk, who is state representative from the Greene County area, is planning to put in a bill addressing broadband in rural areas. I will reach out to David and see what his intent are and what does that bill look like. And of course, he'll have to have a companion in the Senate, but I don't see that that would be a problem either with Rusty Crowe or particularly John Lundberg coming alongside to carry that bill in the Senate. But it would be nice to know what their particular intent would be and what those funds look like and what we have to do for those funds. But David indicated on the news clip that I heard today after listening to Rush Limbaugh that he is carrying that bill, and it was designed for rural communities in Northeast Tennessee. So we'll see what that looks like. So any further opinions or discussion on this particular issue, we'll reach out to Jonathan West, set up a time. We've got in the works, Attorney Harden has already communicated with Brad Shields and Blue Ridge Energy. They seem to be very, very strong partners. The email that you got that I distributed today, Brad Shields is back from vacation, was very excited about working with Carter County. And I'm sure they'll pick up at least one more, if not two more individual companies that would help partner with them to be their distribution entities. So, and I think that's as much up to date unless anybody else knows anything differently of where we stand today on broadband. I think we're making very good progress. We just need to solidify and get out the questionnaires and get those back so they can begin the engineering piece. And certainly Brad Shields, those of you that were on the Zoom call with him, indicated that they would be handling the engineering piece for us. And obviously they would also submit the grant. So I'm very pleased with the amount of progress that we've made, and thank you all for all your work. Got lots more to do, but I think we're closer to our goal than we've ever been in a number of years. And Tracy, thank you for offering up your support for us to maybe use your principals. If we can get something together by your principals meeting by this Friday, maybe you could announce that and we'll maybe have something that you can talk about. And I'm happy, or Mike, maybe both of us are happy to come and be a part of that discussion if you need us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Chairman, I had reached out to the county attorney a couple of weeks ago to see if there was anything resolution wise or anything we needed to do from the county level as far as, I don't know, plowing or making way for territorial disputes or that sort of thing. Did you have a chance to look into any of that, Josh? And did you find anything that mattered?
I think I figured out my technological problems there. I did research that some, Commissioner Hill. Essentially, I mean, we can grant licenses or franchises to those who would want to partner with us and be active in Carter County. I don't know that there's a specific impediment that we would face from the big players of Charter or CenturyLink or whoever they are in that realm from the local level. You know, specifically on the issue of things we can do against them, or I guess some sort of way we can punish the big players. I think maybe that's beyond our capability. But I think we can certainly grant more access to those who would want to partner with us here.
But is that necessary, or does that just happen organically? Or would it be, I mean, would it be beneficial to do anything at this point?
Not unless necessary. I mean, you know, I think certainly they have the capability, the folks that you're talking to now have the capability and maybe some of the infrastructure in place already. So I don't think there's anything necessary. And the old saying, you know, don't poke the bear unless you have to. So, you know, I think it's fine as is. If it becomes necessary, I think we have that capability.
So doing nothing is good.
Sometimes.
Yeah, good. If we're done with this topic, let's move on to new and old business. The only thing that I have is the issue of the homeless task force. And I did have an interesting call. I can't tell you who it was from today, but it was a long time Carter County that has an interest in homelessness and has been following the discussions and is offering, I will not tell you how much money, but it's a significant amount of money to contribute to that effort as soon as he says, as soon as they see where the task force is heading. So we've got a lot of interest, and a lot of people are speaking out about wanting to join that effort. We'll probably have more than we need, which is always a good thing, I think, when you're tackling a problem like this. But I've reached out to Brandon Young, who will be chairing the committee, and asked Brandon to start pulling people together for a Zoom call in the near future. So that's a little snippet of progress that's occurring there. And I think it's all been good. Everything that I'm hearing has been very, very positive. So any other old or new business that needs to come before us? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I make that motion. Isaiah Grindstaff.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Grindstaff makes the motion to adjourn. Commissioner Hill seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that is unanimous. So Gwen, Health and Welfare is adjourned at 6:49. Thank you.
Okay, may I call the Building and Grounds Committee meeting to order? This is former Vice Chair Ginger Holdren. I sent out an agenda earlier today. So the first order of business would be to approve that agenda or make any changes to it if necessary.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Hill, second by Dr. Acuff. So Glenn, if you will, please, we'll take a roll call vote on approving the agenda for this evening.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I believe that was a unanimous vote on the approval of the agenda. The next item is election of a chairperson for the coming year. So the floor is now open for nominations for chair of building and grounds.
Sorry, Vice Chair, your voice is muffled. Somebody, would you mind repeating that? Because it's hard to hear. I don't know if it's a closeness or if there's background noise overriding your voice.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is
No,
that
that's
any
good.
better?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. The floor is open for nominations for chair of building and grounds.
Make a motion that Ginger Holdren be chairperson.
I would like to see if there's another person willing to serve in that capacity. If at all possible, I think we do have possibly another person interested in that.
If there is, I will withdraw.
Okay. I would like to nominate Commissioner Grindstaff, since he's held that position before, if he is interested. I haven't spoken with him prior to this, but I would nominate him if he so accepts.
I don't mind to assist, if, you know, Ginger feels that her talents would be better maybe somewhere else or directed towards somewhere else, if that's how she feels. I know there's a lot of committees to go around, so I'll accept that if that's kind of where you want me.
I think you would do a great job, and I would be honored for you to accept that nomination.
So at this time, I would like to move that nominations cease and we elect Mr. Grindstaff by acclamation with a single vote.
Okay, so we have a motion to cease nominations. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we are voting now to cease nominations. Gwen, if you will call the roll, please.
I think it not only
Point of clarification.
Yeah, I think it not only ceases nominations, Vice Chair Holdren, but I think it also elects Commissioner Grindstaff as chair.
It was an effort to keep the number of roll calls down to a minimum.
Okay, I didn't realize we could do that. That's great, and thank you. All right, so you will be voting on ceasing nominations and electing Isaiah Grindstaff as chair of building and grounds.
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Hesitantly.
Yay. All right, Mr. Grindstaff, are you ready to take the helm, sir?
I know very little about what's on the agenda, but I'll be more than happy to, ma'am.
Maybe your pet monkey beside you there knows, or is that a pet monkey?
Now, Mr. Brad Johnson, now. Thank you all. I just ask you bear with me. This is definitely, it's been a little while, and I'll do my best to get caught back up. Now we will entertain nominations for election of vice chair, for the position of vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Brad Johnson.
There you go. Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that my name be withdrawn from that. Thank you very much, Ms. Color.
No problem.
well, Mr. Johnson, I would greatly appreciate your assistance.
Well, you can get that. I don't have to be a chair or a vice chair to give you that. You know that.
I know.
Well, then why'd you say that then?
Just trying a little pressure, Brad. Just trying a little
Wait,
pressure.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Chairman, I'll nominate Ginger Holdren.
Ms. Holdren,
I'll accept.
Okay.
I'll make the
Chairman, I
motion.
would move that, yeah, as Commissioner Color said.
And elect by acclamation.
all right.
I would
have a
second
motion-
that.
I have a motion by Ms. Culler, a second by Dr. Acuff to end nominations and elect Commissioner Holdren as vice chair by roll call. Ms. Gwen, if you would you please call the roll?
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes. All right, all ayes. Ms. Holdren, welcome aboard again. I'll need your help quite a bit, especially today.
From all of us.
Mhm.
It says on the next item for the agenda, it says approval of September minutes. I don't know that I got those or that they came through on the email. So not having those in front of me, I think we'll just go ahead and bypass that, put those off till next month, and move forward with the agenda item for public comments.
Before you get that far, Mr. Chair, it may be noted that besides of the September 1, there was also an August 25 minutes was a special call that will need to be approved along with that when we do.
Okay.
Chair, that information was in our commissioner packets at the last meeting.
Yeah, but those were unofficial until they're approved by the committee.
Was the September meeting minutes in there as well?
I believe it was.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you all been able to look through and do you feel comfortable making that vote?
I'll be glad to make the motion that we accept them from the last commission meeting.
Okay. I've got a motion to accept both the August special call meeting minutes and the September meeting minutes by Commissioner Culp. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Acuff.
Second by Commissioner Acuff. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Not seeing any. Ms. Gwen, if you would, please call the roll.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Ma'am, I'm going to abstain. I must have overlooked them. With that being said, that'll be all, be 7 ayes, 1 abstention. We'll go ahead and move on to public comments if there's anybody still here for public. Not hearing any, we'll go ahead and move on to new business, which is using the Workforce Development Complex with Dr. Tracy McAbee. Ms. Holdren, would you like to kind of elaborate on what the conversation's been thus far on this?
I know that Commissioner James and Dr. McAbee toured the facility, and they began a discussion about the possibility of educating Carter County high school students in vocational training somewhere on that campus. I think Dr. McAbee is interested in that, and he's here tonight to tell us how interested he is and how far along in thinking about that the school system is.
Absolutely. So I thank you again for the opportunity to address the committee. So when Mr. James and I went over there and toured that area, several things really got my mind to spinning. I look into one big area and there's an overhead crane. I think there's 13 welding bays. There's a staging center up on top. There's classrooms in the back, multiple things like that. There's classrooms that were available. So one thing that I've already noticed no longer than I've been in Carter County is with the 4 high schools, a situation is, again, an equity issue / what can we provide for our students with the funding that we have. So for example, I think UNACA has a really good program where they train butchers and they leave that high school with some sort of certification with that, but it's only at UNACA. Well, then you've got, I think, welding or auto body or something that's really good up at Cloudland. Well, then over at Happy Valley on the other end of the county, you've got the aviation type thing that a lot of students want to take. So what we get into is this, and I know I'm talking to Elvis about rock and roll. I'm just letting you see my wheels spinning here. We're transporting these kids all day long during the day, losing valuable instruction time, and money's doing that, maybe just 2 or 3 kids on a bus and that kind of thing. So as I'm sitting there looking at this rather large complex with just the thought of, let's think outside the box, I see a way of maybe reworking some schedules such that if kids are interested in certain trades and vocational trainings, they just start their day there, all right? And they're there 2 or 3 periods. And if they want to be a Highlander, then go be a Highlander after you get all of that finished. Go on your lunch break and drive up to Cloudland, or if you're wanting to be a Ranger, whatever the case may be. And then you flip that around while they go do their academic classes. Maybe we have a different group of kids finish their day there. So it's just this idea of making a lot better use of our time and getting all of these trade classes together, and quite possibly saving some monies there that we could offer more. The other thing that I have just in my gut, in who I am, and I told this to the board 2 or 3 times when I went through that interview process, and that is I have 2 really big goals for myself and for Carter County, and that is reading ability on 3rd grade level by the 3rd grade. I mean, we know the data. Doors really begin to shut in little kids' faces if they can't read and write well by 3rd grade. I mean, the statistics are scary. The other thing is trades. I have a gentleman, a friend of mine, he's in the trucking industry, and he told me over the last couple of months, they've hired 2 or 3 guys with master's degrees to be truck drivers. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a truck driver. My point is, they spent thousands of dollars getting college degrees, advanced degrees, that they can't find employment in. My belief is in this day and age, for the most part, if you have a trade, you can make a very good living for your family. Plumbers, welders, machinists, those types of people, if they dedicate themselves and invest in the product, and the product is themselves, that's huge. The other idea I have is a little bit quirky, and it may be a little too radical, but my thinking is this. Why is it such that our K-12 schooling is you start in kindergarten, finish in 12th grade, and so there's a stopping point, and then you've got to start again? My thinking is, why not just let that be a continuation? And so we have TCAT just right over the hill, and I've not met with anyone over there yet. So all of this is preliminary, and you guys shoot holes in it as you see fit. But in my mind, in my dream about this, what if we could partner with TCAT that's just right there, use some of this Tennessee lottery money that they use to get a 2-year degree, and maybe start much earlier in a guy's career or a lady's career, young lady, and such that when they're 18 or 19, they graduate with a degree from TCAT. They're ready to go make $30 an hour welding and that type of thing. The other thing that made me think about that was when I was meeting with principals, one of them made the observation, they're having some issues with kids wanting to graduate early because Carter County only requires, I think, 24 credits. So that's pretty low. So my first thought back then was, well, we need to offer other things for these guys, some kind of classes. Well, after seeing this building and thinking of what this could be, perhaps we should look at it a different angle and see that if it's 24 to graduate, that gives us a large window to either do dual enrollment with Northeast State or some of these community colleges, or if they're wanting to go to a trade, that we could partner with TCAT and make use of that so that we're really building into these kids' skill set. One other thing I'd like to say is cautionary is sometimes you talk this to folk, they begin to believe that we want to pigeonhole a kid into, I'm only going to go to college route, or I'm only going to get a trade route and I can never switch it up. And to me, nothing could be further from the truth. If you know, let's help you. If you just want to try it for a while, again, I still think that, and I shared this story with Kiwanis, and I won't bore you. I promise I'll hush quickly. But it was, I think it's a very good illustration of a dad who'd had a conversation with his son about dedicating himself and the idea of hard work. The kid wanted to be a music teacher or in the music industry somehow, teaching. And so he'd been through college, was getting ready to finish up, did great. And he had this moment of panic, and he sits down with his dad and says, what if this is not the thing? What if I've done all of this work, all of this time, all of this money, and it's not the thing? And the dad looks at him and says, well, if it's not the thing, it'll be the thing that leads you to the thing. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's hit me a little bit differently, because if we can allow that to happen with these students when they're a bit younger, and if it is not the thing, they've tried that and now they know moving forward for their life. So that's where I'm at. It's very early. It may be naive in my thinking, but that's a vision that I get. I have really good friends that are a lot smarter than me at the University of Virginia, that they specialize in scheduling. Dr. Lynn Kennedy that's up there, he works a lot in New York. I know up there, they have a situation where if a kid goes like a regular high school and one summer, takes courses during one summer of their high school career, they graduate with a 2-year degree. So I know these things can be done. I know they can be scheduled. And I know some folk that would help us with that aspect of it. But I'll just be quiet and I'll entertain questions if you have any. That's my thinking about that building, if it could be an option.
Dr. McAfee, Brad Johnson.
Yes, sir.
I know that this has all been just preliminary talk, but is it advanced enough in your all's organization to where we can get a feel for the base as far as how much space we can have? Because presently we have an AE firm selected to do the contract drawings and all, but we don't have enough information to feed to them to where it can be placed on paper to see how this can work or how we have to move it around with other, like the agriculture department across from the courthouse, they want to locate a kitchen, to where we can
Right.
get it all put together, to where we can get it under one contract to do the replenishing and updating.
Right. So no, I've not gotten there. That's something I could work on easily this week. Now that I'm beginning to see that maybe there is some bubbling up and fermenting of an interest in this. I can get with all the high schools and ask them the different classes they offer, the number of students are there, and the number of teachers that are needed. And then I could arrange in our mind and schedule the type of area and classroom we need. Is that the question you have, the area that we would require, Mr. Johnson?
Something, when you identify as to what general courses, like you
Right.
find out from the high school, just kind of come up with a gross square footage that it would take for a space to do, that we can do an accumulation that we can feed once we get the AE started work, to see how it fits within the walls of our building.
Absolutely, I can do that. Yes, sir.
Your instructor, the vocational people there in your office of your staff, to do such a down and dirty on the general side of it could do it very quickly.
Yeah, Mickey Taylor here is really good with that, and I can get with him in the morning, and he may have that information he can regurgitate quickly.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Superintendent Bob Acuff, First District. When you toured that facility, is there a building east-west that you're more interested in than another? Because as you know, we've been courting Northeast State Community College to continue with us in Carter County. And I want to make sure that if you're asking for similar space or the same space, we need to know that as well, because of the fact that it will impact the negotiations with them going forward.
Absolutely. And so I'm not quite sure east and west. I can get lost in my backyard. It would be the building on the back. And actually, I think that's the one that Northeast perhaps is in right now. Right. The reason I say that is for two. One, that's where all of those big bays of areas we're at with some classrooms on top. So I know that's not advantageous with where they're at now. The other thing is this, just human nature, and you can't fight nature. I am a little hesitant when I think about big picture of having some of my high school kids passing in the hallway with some college kids. That is a little troublesome in my mind. So I would like to have high school in one, college in the other, if we could, that type of thing.
Okay. Dr. McAbee.
Yes, sir.
I think what you're describing is spot on. I think the CTE program is probably one of the best things about our school system. However, the students in my district, District 2, Roan Mountain, and the Cloudlands, as you probably know, well, actually, we've got a great export to a project like you're talking about, and his name is Sam Potter. And he's part guidance counselor, part welding instructor, part life coach for those folks up here. And it's a great program, but newsflash, not all the kids want to learn to weld. So then they have a choice of EMS nursing or agriculture. And another thing that my personal babysitter some years ago ran into, she had all of her credits, like you were talking about, they were done and she was ready to graduate, and they had her doing menial tasks like running photocopies when she wanted to take like an art class or something but she already had her electives done and they wouldn't let her. Point I'm trying to come around to is that where is a child going to find their groove if it's not in primary education system? And I know we have kids in my district that have tried to go, would have liked to have gone to the auto body shop up at Unaka, for instance, but it was a road too far. And the guidance counselor, in fact, coached them that it was going to really interfere with them getting those credits under their belt because of the toll it was going to take on their academic day to try to make that journey. So centralizing it, like you're talking about, bringing them in to one location where they could choose from all the awesome CTE programs at all of the schools, would totally balance the equation and let a lot more of our students find a niche. And, you know, even if you want to go become a brain surgeon later in life and you have block masonry skills, you know, you've always got a fallback if that brain surgeon deal doesn't work out for you. So what you're talking about is really appealing to me ever since I got the rumbling that this might be something we were looking into. The notion of kids walking across the quad to fulfill dual enrollment, you know, just simply walking across the common area is killer. I think people would be modeling after us if we could, you know, play the great shell game and get you guys in alignment with Northeast State. In Mike's world, that's the dream application for this property up here. And I'm going to shut up now, but I like what you're thinking, sir, and please keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the other members?
Well, that's Commissioner Collins. I just think we're wasting that space and great opportunity here too, that, you know, we really need to really kind of get the ball rolling and consider this seriously, because if we don't, someone else may want to, and you know, another school system or whatever. You know, they're already doing this type of thing, so, you know, why shouldn't our kids get it also? You know,
And I have
that'll be a different issue to deal with, but you know, our kids deserve this too. So, you know, I think we should go and start really, you know, getting serious about this, because we've talked about things like this for a while. It's time to get serious.
And I have reached out to some folk, and they've given me some names. I've got the gentleman's name written down in a note here, but he's in Greene County. And it seems to me such that Greene County has already got something similar. And so they've gone through that learning curve, and they said it wasn't a smooth thing. So I'm going to call him one day this week and just see all the things that, you know, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly as you tried to implement this. So I've got that ball rolling too, to try to go ahead and educate myself on some things that might be a stumbling block with the State Department of Education or whatever the case may be. But it's very exciting, as Mr. Hill and you're saying, that this could be a possibility.
Well, and I'll have to agree. You know, I can tell you, I graduated high school in 2009. I'll show you my young age, but my issue at the time is we were talking about, you know, Miss Debbie Magid. I've known her for a long time, and absolutely have enjoyed working with her and talking to her and things. And so we had a class offering, a couple of class offerings, the EMS EMT. At one point they were doing the criminal justice class and some things. And, you know, I was told the same thing that Commissioner Hill was referencing. You know, if you go, you can't just take one period. You've got to take 3 periods. You've got to be gone, you know, in that transitional route for that bus. And, you know, while I don't feel that it slided me or, you know, didn't ultimately lead me where I need to be, I just think of some of the opportunities that some of the other kids that I went to Hampton High School, that I went to Hampton. And, you know, we were quite close to Happy Valley and Unaka. You know, Cleveland's quite a bit of a drive. That's a big difference.
Yes.
So I look forward to working with you on this. And I think that, you know, I agree with Commissioner Johnson. I think that if you can give us a rough estimate of tentatively what programs that you would look to put there, the size and site requirements on those programs, I think that you definitely have this committee support. I think this is something that we've been looking for a long time, to kind of help move things forward for both the county and the schools. So.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Grindstaff, Commissioner, Mayor Woodby, I'm not sure the title yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Bear with me. Dr. McAbee, I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Grindstaff and everyone has said. I too experienced with my daughter, she just graduated from Hampton High School last year as a senior, what Commissioner Grindstaff experienced with the criminal justice program. She was highly interested in that and tried to take it for 2 years, but it just did not fit along with her academic day. She was going to have to subside and lose some credits versus taking up part of her day to travel to Happy Valley High to take that course. So she was disheartened by not being able to take that course. So the idea of eliminating the travel and putting all these CTE classes in one location is great. And bridging that gap with Northeast State and TCAT is phenomenal. And also the option that you brought up about possibly being able to take summer courses within your high school years and walk out with a 2-year degree is fabulous, especially at 17, 18, 19 years old, if they're graduating early anyways.
Mhm.
So I applaud everybody on this. I think this is a great opportunity, and I'm willing to help wherever anybody needs me to really get boots on the ground on this. So I want to thank everybody, and thank you, Dr. McAbee, for bringing this to the table.
Well, thank you. And as we sit here and talk, I said I'd be quiet, and I'm too much of a talker. But just one more caveat or a nuance, going back to what Dr. Acuff spoke about. If we look at broadband and pull that one off, the dual enrollment and the AP classes and baccalaureate classes that you can offer online, that opens up a world for these kids who are interested in college work. So all of these things come together that we can offer a world-class pre-K, probably 16 or a pre-K 14 education for our kids.
And that was the lingo that they were using when I worked at Northeast State a few years ago at the community college level. It was pre-K 14 at the time was the lingo. And I too just want to weigh in and say how excited I am about this possibility. Reiterate that the faster you can get us some information, it will help our architectural engineering firm come up with plans that we would need for this. I would say to you, please go ahead and talk to the State Department. I think you may be aware that Mark Norman, who's currently working at Happy Valley, is a former employee of Greene County and could probably assist you with that information coming from there.
Yes.
Talk to TCAT, talk to Northeast State, and see how they're willing to partner and make this happen. Because you probably know that TCAT offers math and English classes also.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's some kind of partnering that you can even do with the gen ed classes. I know you said if they want to go be a bulldog second half of the day, but there may be some kids that are just truly ready to like grow up and be more on their own and you know, so you may not even have to have that possibility of traveling back to a high school at another time of day. Some of them may be ready to not do that. I just want to kind of throw that out there as a possibility.
Yes.
But thank you so much for being a forward thinker and bringing this to us. And I'm supportive, as everyone else has said.
Thank you.
Superintendent Bob Acuff, one last comment. As we move forward with this, or as you move forward with this, I think we need to involve Northeast State, as Commissioner Holdren said, in the discussion. I do not want this to become a tug of war on who has what space.
I agree. Yes, sir.
And in order to do that, I would suggest if interim mayor, who, Rusty had been talking with Bethany Bullock a lot, but involve Patty in that discussion, you and a member of Building Grounds, I guess it would be Commissioner Grindstaff as chair, so that we maintain our intent. But I think I agree, this is a real opportunity and a real step forward for Carter County. And I embrace what you're trying to do. I want to make sure that we continually make sure that we don't lose all of our players in this because somebody gets a snit and says, well, I'm taking my ball and going home.
Right,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, so, and I appreciate your comments regarding the hesitancy of having high school kids interact with college kids, and somehow we've got to, if we're going to use similar spaces, we're going to have to overcome that. And I don't know how that can be done, but I'm sure it can be.
Right, absolutely, yes, sir. Yeah, and see, I know that there's some nuances here that being new, I don't know. And Northeast State, I don't want to offend them in any way with any of this at all.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think you'll offend them at all, particularly when you are partnering with them for dual enrollment programs and bringing to the table some opportunities for them to develop new programs that our students may want to pursue. I don't think that's, that's not offending them at all. I know that they've occupied this space for a while, and we don't want to lose them, but I think there's common ground here is what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe this could be even more as a positive to keep them, seeing that they are willing to also involve more students and get more high school students eventually attending Northeast State. So I think it's going to move in the right direction, and I will reach out to Ms. Bullock and try to maybe get a meeting set up so we can all discuss maybe just some preliminary as far as the building and what rooms everybody wants to work out on. But I think that would be the first step if the committee is okay with that.
Yeah, I think Madam Mayor, that that would definitely be the interest of the committee, the interest of the commission, probably most definitely, to make sure that we don't step into that. And I'd be willing, Dr. Acuff, if you'd like to make that in the form of a motion, just to make it official. Let's move forward on that.
Okay, so I would move that the mayor would reach out to Dr. Bullock and let's have an opportunity to bring every partner into some sort of discussion about how we share this space, how we go forward from here in support not only of Carter County schools and but also for Northeast as well.
Second, Commissioner Hill, District 2.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. We've had a lot of conversation. Is there anything else? All right, seeing none, Ms. Gwen, if you would, please call the roll.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Sorry.
Kelly Collins,
Sorry, yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Most definitely, yes. All right, that's all lines. Ma'am, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would reach out to Ms. Bullock as you stated, and then Dr. McAbee, I greatly appreciate you coming and bringing this to us. And once again, we look forward to working with you on this. And if you can start looking at what it would take on your all side to kind of get us some preliminary figures, and then Mayor Woodby will, I hope, get back with us as soon as she can, and Ms. Bullock's schedule will allow.
I will work on that this week, Chairman Grindstaff, and I'll touch base with you.
Thank you very much.
And I'll get to work on that. And let me say one last thing. I know that this commission is very generous to this school district, and I appreciate all you do to support the school system.
Well, thank you, sir. We all greatly appreciate that. I think, for me, it means a lot. Grew up here, went to school there, K through 12, and I'd like to see us do a whole lot, continue to do good and keep moving forward and helping as much as we can.
And right now, I think our school system needs us more than ever.
Amen.
I do. I commend everybody that's doing it right now because I know it's tough. I do.
I feel like this is my first year teaching, and it's actually my 30th.
Yeah.
But it feels like my very first year.
It's tough. And I commend you, Kelly, for sticking in there.
Absolutely.
All
Chairman
right,
Grindstaff, Brad Johnson.
sir.
there's one other part that is, one of the spokes of the wheel of everything has been spoken tonight. You know, we selected an AE firm, Shaws and Shanks, out of Johnson City, as our architect for that project up there. And now we're into the 60th day. And it hadn't been a thing done. Everything that was discussed here and tonight with Dr. McAbee and our other distinguished commissioners as to what can go in and go out, you got to remember, there is nobody today can show you a single piece of paper, a single drawing on the wall, in electronic, in a book, or any form of fashion whatsoever. And we have to involve this AE firm to put this out to where we have an instrument that we can intelligently talk about. See, so we need to hook up with Shaws and Shanks and them, and let's meet with them and get them going to where that blended in with what Dr. McAbee and what Madam Mayor has and other commissioners here, that we can get it on paper and see that puzzle fits. And we're going to be a lot of steps ahead. But if you just stay here and continue to discuss it, we're not getting anywhere.
Right.
And in fact, Chairman Grindstaff, I know we've already passed a motion, but maybe we could include Shaw and Shanks as a part of that discussion as well. I certainly agree with Commissioner Johnson, because obviously as people are jockeying for space or want to renovate space or look at space, they'll need to be involved. So if we could add them to that list, I don't know that I want to make a motion, but I think it would be an understanding based on Commissioner Johnson's comments that we do that.
I mean, you look at the space, you don't have anything, even our committee sitting here. Can any of y'all show me anything of where it's laid out?
No.
Who's in what space? What space do we have available to fit that we can show not only those in our education line or in our county line, but those that from the outside that's looking in that may be a possibility. We have no instrument whatsoever, but we have the capabilities real quick.
Yeah.
Either Mr. Johnson or Mayor Woodby may be able to answer this as well. Do you know if there's any available blueprints that we have on either of those buildings up there? Even a rough drawing or anything?
The present employees that maintain the facility up there, they have, I think, one set of blue lines on the back building, and it's not complete with all the utilities and all, but just enough to get a footprint out of. But that is something that our AE firm can hurriedly do both ways, on paper and electronically, is to get us the footprint of the building of what we said existing and to show what is our availabilities are. And it needs to be done before we can put it in also electronic form to where we can, you can put it on a thumb drive. I did it all the time, but you can also put it on our computers to where we can print out at any time we need it.
Right. And I know that from where I was on the committee prior, well, it feels like 16 years prior, but in prior years, one thing we'd always discussed is going out and the buildings, county buildings that did not have blueprints, was reaching out to an individual firm or something of that nature to get blueprints and designs throughout for that. And I don't think that we've been able to accomplish that as well. Whenever we all approved Shaws and Shanks, sorry, keep in mind, I'm trying to get caught back up on everything and get off of budget and back on building your grounds. We approved Shaws and Shanks as an AE firm for all general projects for Carter County. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that Dr. Acuff, I agree. I think they need to be a part of that discussion, but I also think that they actually need to be a part of a bigger discussion, or the primary in a bigger discussion that myself, maybe Commissioner James, Commissioner Holdren, somebody, and Mayor Woodby as well, to sit down and actually start moving forward on, getting the Great Lakes building up there, getting those accomplished maybe first with an outline, a blueprint of who's where and what's available, and then also move forward into the other buildings that the county has. I think we have blueprints of the jail, the annex, the sheriff's office, kind of some prints of the current 801 East Elk Courthouse, but that's definitely something that that's bits and pieces depending on where you look. So that's definitely a project that I'll write down and highlight, and I'll get their contact information, Commissioner Johnson, and we'll start working on some of that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to, the main emphasis is gonna have to be on the workforce development, because all the plans that we have had preliminary discussion with Dr. McAfee and all of our other commissioners cannot go through until we do the remodeling and updating of that building, because they do not meet the qualifications to put anything in, really. There's no fire alarm systems, the utilities are down, it don't make NFPA, NADA, all the AEIOUs and ABCDs. So we've got to get that accomplished. And the building is inundated, and we need to get it up to date before we can put these to use. And our AE firm can be actively involved in that now, so we can get past that.
Correct. And that's why I want to go ahead and reach out to them, let them know that this is some of the, I think some of the things that we need to sit down and discuss with them, and go ahead and get those preliminary drawings laid out of what we have. And then as Dr. McAfee and we have our discussion with Northeast State, we can bring that information to the table and start getting them involved, because we have several stakeholders in those buildings. I'm not familiar with all of them as I once was, but these seem to be the two closest and the two biggest, and definitely the two that we've maintained emphasis on as we went through the last 2 years. And so I think that starting with them, getting what we have, where everybody's at, give us a great idea, and then start working on what needs to be accomplished ADA wise, and what needs to start being accomplished just to get them in the building and maintain Northeast State as what we have, without even getting into trying to get to the future. Because like you said, if we don't know what we have, don't know what it looks like, how are we going to take it where we need it to get it? Yeah. So I'll start reaching out to them and put the emphasis on them of that building, and see what we can do and what we can get back. So.
Chairman, I guess I'm a little confused about, we've talked about this prior to your tenure on this committee, obviously, about Shanks and Shaw as our AE firm to do these types of projects. And I'll defer this to Commissioner Johnson, because he's the guru when it comes to these types of things, since that was his life for quite a number of years. How do we pull this trigger to go ahead and let Shanks and Shaw do what they need to do to get in that building and start doing some of these things? We've talked about this now for the last year, and we need to give them some responsibility and orders to go forward, so that we can have these answers and be able to have these discussions. Because I agree with Commissioner Johnson, you can't do this until we know what space is available and what items we're dealing with and what things need to be replaced, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we pull that trigger?
Well, to start with, the main emphasis would be, for one, is we need to, or someone needs to sit down and do just a very minor scope of work that we can issue to the AE, which in return places a dollar bill on that brings it back to the committee and to the finance department for funding. And in that scope of work, they will explain the phases or the steps or they will have the questions as to what we are seeking further than what the scope of work says. But if they incorporate it in their drawings, because everything they're doing right now on the base is going to have to be available when they start in the preliminaries of the main restoration of this building. So it's not just a one-time deal. It's right. What we pay for there, it just goes over to the next phase of the thing. So the next is the scope of work. What do we want him to do? Do us a footprint preliminary of the property, the layout of the building, and identify the key players inside the building. What's the price? And then from there on, we can say in the process, now go in there and do a survey of your building. Let's see where our aid to get with EMA director, find out what our ADA items are that need to come in compliance, what OSHA requirements are, all of them, start laying that out and giving us a preliminary figure to update our buildings, such as new windows, new facades, new HVAC, items like that we have to have. So they start pumping in the preliminary while we are getting all of our players together in the building to where we can make those numbers match up with each other.
Right, and I'll interject one, and that's kind of why I want to reach out to them and start that initial discussion on what they need, or what we need from them, get that accomplished. Because any changes or anything that's going to be done to that building, any ADA modifications, any updates to any equipment, I mean, the list goes on, as Commissioner Johnson mentioned. They're going to have a set of plans. It's the same conversation I had 4 years ago when we were starting to talk about, 6 years ago, I guess, when we started talking about the courthouse security. You got to have the plans to be able to sit down and look at, build off of. They're going to have to do that to begin with. So what I'm going to reach out to them on is I'll start drafting a preliminary scope of work, start getting some pricing, or start getting a pricing back from them, and then we can get all that back to the committee here and start trying to action on that. Hopefully, their timeline, but hopefully, sometime next month to start moving forward. Because I would definitely like to see that piece worked. Them working on this piece and it being approved through full commission before, I want to say November, but at least before our December, by our December meeting. Because it does seem like this has been, I know we've got a lot of projects going on, and I'm just cutting the tip of the iceberg looking at the old business, courthouse security, things of that nature. So I want to get this moving on with them. County Archive Department, I see that's a little bit later on as item E. So I mean, that's another one that's going to have to be mentioned in this as well. So I'm going to try my best to move that piece forward with Shaws and Shanks and get some pricing back to the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And I believe this rises, even though we've had a number of projects that we have had out there, like courthouse security, like archives, et cetera. But we've got so many players that are involved in this particular piece called workforce development that it really rises to the top of the list, in my opinion, because it impacts not only our county schools, but our opportunity to work with Northeast, with TCAT, with other entities that would like to occupy that space. And as you all know, and go back to Broadband, we have an agreement with the College of Medicine, the ETSU, to sit down with us about telemedicine. We've also talked with them about occupying a part of that space so that they can have a further presence in Carter County there at the workforce development. So in my opinion, it really rises to the top.
And I would concur. I would have to say that it's probably, as important as it is, it's probably number 2 as things move on with this current building project with courthouse security. Of course, I think Commissioner James has pretty much that wrapped up and is kind of getting towards its ending phases. So that'll allow me, I think, to concentrate more on Shaws and Shanks and what we need to do at workforce development. So
thank you, sir.
With that being said, I'd like to go ahead and move into old business. I know that Commissioner James is on there. The first topic is courthouse security update. If he could provide us, him or Vice Chair Holdren or whoever has the know on this, and see where we're at, where we need to go.
All right, Chairman, we are currently getting real close. We're going to be in a waiting phase for a short period on door hardware and some changes that had to come up due to the COVID. We're going to kind of be in the process of that, but I don't know how many has been down, but we have had all the wallpaper stripped, the floors stripped, and the walls repainted from the bottom half down, and new floors installed in the main hallways in front of the tax assessors and coming out of the clerk's office. So that is down. The plan as of right now, As of tomorrow morning, they're going to start tearing up the clerk's office. I haven't been back this afternoon, but they was working on it when I left this morning. All the cubicles and everything should have been removed and in the clerk's office, and they're going to be closed for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with the hopes when they come back Monday morning, they're going to be able to get back to work. All the floors should be tore up and replaced. And then they're going to try to get the base down in that meantime, but if not, they'll be able to kind of work around and get that done. So that will take care of the phase 2 of the courthouse security project, and that gets that flooring replaced, which is one of our biggest hurdles, trying to work around the public while tearing everything up. So Mayor Woodby-Minher had spoke, and we're hoping to possibly she can get some of our cleaning crews in on Sunday and try to go ahead and strip, wax, and buff the floors. So come Monday morning, they'll be ready to go ahead and start setting the cubicles and everything back up and getting Mary's office back in order, which was the main thing. The entryway, the door has already been tore out. The room's framed up. I believe, I'll have to check and see, but I think they're getting ready to put the drop ceiling in for where the metal detector and the guards will go. And then it's pretty well just down to paint and refinishing doors and of that nature. So, and then of course the front door gets changed out on the main front door on the courthouse, and that's the door hardware that we're currently waiting on.
Okay, is that 1, 2, 3 doors, 4 doors, 3 doors?
Let's see, you got the new door that comes in.
Yep.
And then you've got the door at the main front of the courthouse. I believe it gets changed out, and I believe that's the only 2 doors that gets changed. The other ones gets refinished, I believe, and just kind of gets dressed up. Now I know you had said something which you're a little more accessible with it with TCS about the card reader systems. So they were supposed to have got in contact with each other and tried to work that around and see what needs to be done about getting the card readers installed on those other doors during the middle of the construction process.
Okay. So the main door at I call it the flagpole side. So the main door at the flagpole side on the lower entrance is getting replaced.
The way I understand it, yes, that was what was supposed to be waiting on the door hardware.
Okay. And then they're just going to refurbish the top door and the other side door.
Yes. Yes, all the wooden doors, the ones in the clerk's office in the airlock and the other entrance. I don't know about the far end hallway, and I'm not sure about the front hallway because that was, that's not really part of the design. We just opted to change the flooring in there because it had got such a bad shape. So I don't know if those get refinished, but I do know that the ones in Mary's office and the air gap and the exterior door, from my best understanding, was part of the refinish. And then of course she got 2 new doors coming from the security where the bailiff will be standing.
Okay.
Austin, Brad Johnson.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
2 things. What percentage of completion are you on that project right now?
I would say that they are 75 to 80%.
Okay.
I'll have to get with Kim to see what percentage they've got out on the draws, but at my best guesstimation, they're at 75 to 80%.
Okay, has the AE firm confirmed that they have made contact with the contracting, the company or the foreman there to verify that they have everything at their hand, at their disposal? Once we shut down our services, I don't want to get in the middle of it and I drive by and find one standing there scratching his head and his rear end at the same time when it's like, oh gosh, I don't have high-fund materials here. That they've got to be able to get, if it includes that they have to work at nighttime, that it has to be done for when we come in Monday morning.
Yes, me and,
Austin, have you heard that conversation before?
yes, me and Mayor Woodby and Miss Googe, and has had a long conversation with them about this. And
I did
they're-
have him in here last night, laying the floor at night with Randy here up until they could get it laid, because we
Yes,
had
and-
to. It was becoming too, the public couldn't get in. They're walking through the wet glue. So we told them, we're gonna quit asking and start telling.
yeah, so,
Gotta start working on this.
yeah, so, and that was what the conversation, that we had. I seen, the contractor over there yesterday, and that was a conversation I had with him. You know, my main thing was, I told him, I said, I want the base down. I said, but really, I said, I said, the base where the furniture goes is my main concern. I said, but I want the flooring done. I said, Monday morning when we walk in, I said, the flooring needs to be done. I said, because we're going to have to go back to operation. I said, we have to serve the public. And I said, so that's the main priority. So yes, they are under that assumption.
Okay.
But my expressing to them is I really want it all done. That I feel like we have been, working enough with it. I expect it to get to that point. But yeah, they do know that it is a requirement that Monday morning there is no exceptions on time limits.
Okay, because that is an item, Mr. Chair and James, that is an item of liquidated damages. If it interferes with fire services as a county and to our public, that cost can be accrued, and then it can be, we can go legally in to have it taken from contractor, go in for damages as far as that's concerned.
I don't think we'll have to worry about liquidated damages, because if they're not ready back to open by Monday morning when Miss Googe gets done with them, they're not going to want to come back here anyways.
Well,
So,
the crematorium is just next door, so we don't have to worry
yes.
about that.
So by the time she gets done with them, I promise you, they won't be back around Carter County. So.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner James.
You're welcome, Isaiah, and I will stay with them and stay on top of them, try to work with this and work with you until we get this project wrapped up, because I think this is, we do have a few outstanding things up at the 911 up at the EOC. The building is completed, but they're waiting on getting the phone system installed, and I believe Mayor Woodby had told me that was coming. Did you say next week?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, and that's the last step.
In a couple of weeks, and I will check with Kim tomorrow. They was waiting on a few pieces of fencing to be finished, but I do know that we had a couple pay apps still waiting out. So all funds hadn't been dispersed yet. So you know, they'll definitely be getting on top of that to get the rest of their money. But you know, I'll work with you until we get those wrapped up, so you're not hanging out there on that. And then another thing, I didn't get it on discussed or brought to the agenda. And if you all want to skip it on and send it to budget or wait back and review at it, Chairman Grindstaff, Mr. Lewis had contacted me about his office. They're wanting to try to put some glass closure the rest of the way down and put some doors to separate them from the public, like has been done in Mr. Taylor's office and Mr. Blankenship's. And I got the quotes on those at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I can forward them on to you, and y'all can look at them, or we can send them on the budget and let them look at them, and you can see them through full commission. That will come out of that the federal COVID money. And me and Danny at Keller had a conversation about it, and I had a conversation with Mr. Lewis. If we are to decide to do that, then my suggestion was that we need to go back in, use the current frame that we have where it's setting, and they're going to build a frame for the bottom half of that and set that and secure it to the floor. And that way, when that wall runs all the way out, if they move them cubicles or whatever, it's not going to mess the integrity of that wall up. It'll still remain in place. So whatever they do behind it, you know, it's not going to mess it up, because that was my concern with it right now. I said, I hate to spend all this money to put these other walls up. And I said, you all remove the cubicles at some point in time, because they're already 20-some years old, and then the integrity's gone. So the game plan is They will remove that top half, build the bottom half for it, put the top half back on it, and attach to it to expand the walls all the way out to the sides. But anyways, and if I understand the quotes correctly, I will read you all the amounts here that I got, because he sent me two different ones and I wasn't 100% sure because we hadn't had a time to talk about it. To put the doors up and extend the walls all the way to the ends, and put the deadlocks on them, everything like we have for the Mr. Taylor's office and blanketships, is $5,216. And then to build that wall down is $2,669. So we're looking at roughly $8,700 to complete that, which it's a little more than what some of the other offices has. But the other offices we've been able to secure straight to, they have desk that it's been able to secure that's not movable. This has to be a freestanding wall essentially. But you know, there that is, and I can forward that around if y'all want to wait and look at it next month, or if y'all want to go ahead and send it to budget and let them look at it. I think we just have to have them earmarked by November the 1st, I believe. Is that correct, Ms. Woodby?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
So,
on that note, like you said, you have to have those monies earmarked by November the 1st. I would prefer, I don't know that anybody feels comfortable on voting on them as far as approving them without being able to see them, but I would prefer that those get sent to budget, allow them to look at those, since these monies have to be appropriated by November the 1st. That way we could have a vote on them at full commission. If anybody be willing to entertain that.
Chairman, I could make the motion to send it to budget. I mean, we'll get to look at it in full commission after budget approves it or disapproves it.
Right.
So I'll second that.
All right. I've got a motion by Commissioner Jenkins to go ahead and send these on to budget for their discussion and the ending approval, and a second by Dr. Acuff on that. Any further discussion on that?
I was just gonna say, Commissioner Grunstaff, if any of the commissioners have not seen the offices, what they look like with all these glass partitions installed, you need to take a look at it. The offices look great. I mean, Ronnie's office looks, and Johnny's office, I mean, they look really nice with what Keller's done. It's just a great addition to the offices. So.
yeah, I mean, Chairman, on that note, I really would have to say they have done a phenomenal job. And to be honest, it really has put a lot more of a professional look to our offices. It really, it makes it look more like it should, in my opinion. You know, and like I said, I apologize to y'all that this didn't get sent around, but I didn't see it until I was on my way home at about 5:30, in which he didn't send it until 4 o'clock. So, you know, I'd love to been able to send it around and let y'all have a chance to actually review it and look at it. But
no problem, Commissioner James. I just don't want I don't want this to be something that we need to move forward on, and then we end up losing out on those monies. So I think that as far as forwarding them on the budget, letting them do the consideration, then having that vote at full commission, I think will at least satisfy me, and maybe give everybody a chance to, if they haven't looked, to take a look and see what changes have been made. So if there's no other comments or questions on that, Ms. Gwen, if you would please call the roll.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Tanya Teller,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes. All right, all ayes. Commissioner James, if you'll forward those on, I'll make sure that gets put on the budget committee agenda.
I'll do it.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions on courthouse security or anything that maybe we've missed there as far as these different projects kind of coincide? If not, then we'll just go on down the line. The Sluter property update. I want to say one thing about that. I thank you, Commissioner Hill, for getting that resolution, having that drafted. I thank Josh for drafting that resolution. My only regret is I wasn't able to get to it before you did. I think that that's an absolute fantastic idea, and I think that I can't wait to get this moved, get this finished, and have this place at least in some sort of operational status. So thank you on that.
Commissioner Grindstaff, would you like an update on that property?
Yes, please.
Starting next week, Ron and Rob will be going up there for 2 days. Of course, if the weather's great, they will be getting the water going and the electricity going. And that will complete that project. The septic is in. There's some few minor things that need to be fixed inside the building, but other than that, that's good to go. It will be ready in those couple of days. There is the process of a building needing to be purchased to house the whatever vehicles that we put up there. That'll be the next situation, but it's on the rear end of being finished. They will be going up there next week to finish all that little small stuff. And it will be up and running as far as having a usable restroom and water and electricity.
Awesome. I don't know, has there been any discussion? I know that Mayor Barnett was working on this a lot. Has there been any discussion as far as, what type of building, what needs to be done, or at what point we want to make this available? I know that it's for primarily for EMS, an EMS fire substation kind of deal, and just kind of seeing where we need to go with that.
Director Sheetler come over and we discussed that, and he's going to look into some options for that for me. He's got the dimensions of what we need, so I can update the committee as soon as I get that information. I can send that out in an email.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And just to let the committee know, I have put this project at the top of the list of things I would like to try to do while I'm in this position for Mayor Barnett. So that is just something I'm really working on passionately to see that completed.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that this is something I definitely want to see. I definitely want to see completed at the very least. And I think that this will be a great addition to Carter County as we get this finished. So I thank you for working on it. ADA transition plan. Does anybody have an idea of where we are on that?
No, Chairman Grindstaff, at our last meeting, Mr. Smith was going to go back and check on some things because he and I had come up with some plans that weren't exactly on par. So I haven't heard from him. I'm sure he's looking into that. And I'm sorry, I'm a little sketchy on the details right now, but I know there's been talk of maybe putting some more money in that direction so that we can work on some of the bigger items that need to be accomplished. That's about all I can tell you for sure right now.
Okay. Does anybody know if the monies, initially when budget had discussed, oh, Kelly Collins is on here. Initially when budget had discussed monies on this, the governor's, what ended up being the governor's, I can't remember the name of that, the governor's grant, those monies, that $1.1 million. Initially, what was discussed was taking some funds off the top of that money and pushing, I think it was $15,000 into the ADA transition plan to aid in that, on top of monies, I think that had already been made available. Does anybody know if that was the case, if that actually, if those, I remember having a vote on that, I think, but if those monies have actually been made available to, for this purpose?
Patty, if you remember, I'm pretty sure that went through.
Yeah, I think that went through. That's just what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that went through.
Okay, I'll follow up with Brad Burke and make sure that those monies are available. You know, there may not be anything immediate that we need to take care of, but I know that that's something that that Mr. Smith and Commissioner Holden has been working on diligently, to try to start moving forward on. And I think that those funds will be, are going to be well needed and, end up being well used. So I'll double check on those monies and make sure that they were, dispersed to the correct lines. And I'll follow up with Director Smith as well. And I apologize, I'm trying to make notes and talk at the same time, and I can't spell as it is. The paving at the planning probation offices, I know that we voted on that during the last meeting. Is that tentatively moving forward?
I'm not sure of an update on that yet. I know that's been voted on and approved. I can get with Roger and see what the plans are for a start date.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Grindstaff, I apologize on that. I kind of lagged on that with everything that happened because that was presented to me by Mayor Barnett, and he was spearheading and taking that up. And so, when we passed it and approved it, Roger was notified of it, and I assumed that they was going to start pretty relatively, but I believe we allocated that money to Roger to start the paving of the roads in the other areas, and that has to be spent by a certain time. So I believe that kind of took first priority, but I believe that's somewhat where that's at.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. If you would contact Roger, you or myself, I don't mind either or. If you'd be willing to do that, just.
I've got it on my notes. I'll contact him tomorrow. And I do know that I spoke with him today, and they are currently paving roads with the money that we allocated to them to do so. He said that's what they're working on. So, but I will touch base with him tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, Brad Johnson.
Sir?
Would you object to a 5-minute recess? We've been in the saddle for 2 hours now. And I'd love to hear on certain liquids that I need to expend, if you don't mind.
No, sir, I don't mind at all. 5 minutes, be back at 8:11.
10-4.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes, sir.
on that for Shaws and Shanks, basically what we need is to get started is for them to do the blueprint drawings of the building, of the whole building, both buildings. Survey what is currently in use and where everybody is, how much space they're using, and what else.
Well, basically, that's the best thing is just get a footprint of it. It doesn't have to be a full set of contract drawings, only just building size layout, just show where the existing walls are and who's inside of them. Because that itself will establish the footprint for all the other design work that has to be done. So that part in itself will get all of our committees and all the other departments that's going to be involved with the building accessible where we can be working on it as they go further with a scope of work to start doing their estimates and getting their contract together for the contract drawings to update that building.
Okay.
Commissioner Grindstaff?
Yes,
Wait,
sir.
do you think that we do those preliminary drawings and get all that prepared before we set up the meeting with Dr. Bullock and the powers that be on this?
Yes,
I think that needs to be the first initial step before I reach out to her.
yes, I think you're correct. But I don't think, well, I think that an initial filler, I think, needs to be sent out to her just to kind of let her know
Right.
that this meeting, what occurred during this meeting. But I think that we need more information from Dr. McAbee on size and scale. But definitely we need to have that piece underway with Shaws and Shanks, I think, prior to sit down so that we can kind of say, okay, this is how much you have right now, how much you're utilizing, and where do you ultimately want to go?
Okay.
And then have the same conversation with Dr. Mank.
Chairman, I've looked at the plans there you sent me, and I'll brief you and update you with you. Some of them have changed on those doors, and some of them have, and some of them hasn't.
Okay.
So I'll get with you in the next day or two and go over what it is, which most of it's already there. So, so pretty well what's there is what it is. But the main thing is the clerk's office was originally called for those little 1x1 squares, and those were changed out and got a lot larger piece of glass. And originally only one door was supposed to have it, but fortunately for us, they messed up when they sent us the door, and so the other door had it. So the contractor ate the cost on it, and they're putting it in for both doors.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to get with you and let you kind of do a walkthrough with me, just kind of see what's been going on and what you're doing.
Well, at this point, if anything's wrong, I usually just blame Mayor Woodby. So, either her,
He's been here more than I have.
I swear I have been there so much with them, you wouldn't believe. I'm there. You can ask Woodby. I have been there probably an hour or two every morning for the last, I don't know how many days. So, but I would either just suggest blaming her, or most time Brad ain't there, so I try to blame him.
Well, the main thing is that you got to remember all the big bucks you are making out of all that. I think you're down to what, the 10 cents an hour now?
I wish I made 10 cents an hour. I told one of them today I was thinking about calling the labor board. I'm under minimum wage.
I had him and Mary in here that had me in the corner the other day. It was getting dangerous.
But anyways, Isaiah, I'll get with you on that, and just whenever you got some free time, we'll walk through it all and look at it, and just brief you what they should be doing. But like I said, I won't leave you in the middle of the projects. I'll make sure to we'll work back and forth hand in hand. We'll get it like it's supposed to be done. We have only repainted the bottom half of the walls in the hallway now about 4 times trying to get the paint color. So I finally told him, I said, if it's going to be a problem that they need to paint the bottom half again, let's just try painting the top half and maybe we'll make that match.
And then they dumped paint in my landscaping that I'm having done in the front of the courthouse. That did not go over very well.
Well, they dumped paint in the landscaping and then they dumped drywall mud on the side of the building. So, we've had a few things we've had to deal with.
Drywall mud's easier to wash off than paint sometimes.
Yes, unfortunately, but it was all over the side of the brick. So fortunately it was drywall mud, not paint, because drywall mud will wash. Anyhow, so, that's kind of what we're dealing with, but it's coming together and it looks real lot better. So
It does look good. The floors look really good.
Okay. I see Mike's back. I see Commissioner Collins is back. Sorry, Commissioner Hill is back. Commissioner Collins is back. There's Commissioner Holder. I think Dr. Acuff was there just a second ago. Yeah. Commissioner Keller, are you back?
Just a second. Hold on just a second. Yes, I'm here. I had to take a phone call.
No, you're fine, ma'am. I just didn't want to leave anybody behind.
No, I had to take a phone call, so I'm just kind of doing that right now, but I'm listening.
All right, you're fine. Commissioner Jenkins, you here as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll get started back. County Archive Department, on the agenda, it's listed as officially assigning space. I don't know what all the conversation that you all had about this. I think I attended 1 or 2 meetings where it had come up. I think that is definitely a part of our Shaws and Shanks piece of what is currently being utilized, how much, and where we need to put people. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what you all had already discussed, but
well, Chairman Grindstaff, what was originally discussed was it's supposed to have been part of the architectural design of possibly seeing about placing it to workforce. In the meantime, me and Miss Woodby had met up there, and they was able to take the warehouse after we got them to vacate and take a portion of that and start storing some of them files in it. And she has already started working very diligently with the other offices to try to move some files up there. So that could also be a great resourced area. And we talked about it in financial management the other day, and it came through building and grounds several months ago. And she's trying to work on with getting the archiving committee convened. And, we've got several funds there setting aside and seeing about hiring someone in that specialty to maybe start trying to go ahead and digitize some of these files, and then we can store them away. And, it may not have to be as ready as accessible as if we have them online as if not. Because a lot of people can access them online. So it's not, you're not going to have as many people come in to try to find the original document. You'll have a few that wants to see it, but as long as we have them online. So she was going to reach out to that committee and see what they could do about trying to get the wheels to turning on that.
Yeah,
but
and
that's where we're at with the archive.
We did replace the locks, and so all the office holders will currently have a key to the storage unit that's behind the northeast state, and it's very large. There's a lot. What was the square footage, Austin? Do you remember?
5,000 square feet, how much the warehouse is. And I would say, as of right now, they're probably only occupying around 1,500 square feet. So there's ample amount of space for them to spread as we need to see fit.
Right now, the offices that will be moving quite a bit of their stuff will be the finance department, which they are overwhelmed in boxes. They're just stacked around the walls in their office. Randall's office, Johnny Blankenship's office. Those are the 3 offices right now that are preparing. We're going to start moving stuff up there, hopefully by end of week, first of next week, to give them some space. And we will also clear the 3rd floor out of any records there also.
Okay. If there's anything as far as the committee can do, just keep letting us know. We'll keep this on there as something that needs to be done with Shaws and Shanks and move forward that route. But I think that's a very good start. Is it the records committee that actually has to hire the archivist, or is that something that we could do? I won't say going around them, but without them.
I wouldn't think that it has to be the records committee, but that may be a question for Josh if he's still on the line. I think he is.
Yeah, I'm here partially at least. Certainly the commission would vote on hiring the archivist. I mean, I think the records committee could have a say or a recommendation, but yeah, I think the full commission would ultimately hire that person.
Because I think that is something that, as we're putting documents up there, I think that that's something that we definitely need to pay attention to and allow them to have a say so. Because one concern I know that we've had, and it's nothing against Mary, but out of her office, there's always concerns about those older records, about those being stored and the requirements that some of those older documents need. And County Historian Scott Bowers has been able to do a lot, but as he stated multiple times, that's a hobby and an interest for him, and not necessarily a job. So I think that is definitely something. I think that is the next piece that we need to look at is to go from there. That's, I think, somebody that's needed. Okay. Building and grounds supervisor. I think Commissioner Holden, you had sent out a document on that as well. Commissioner Holden, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I'll try that again. Our committee has been talking about this for some time. Chairman Grindstaff, we haven't even decided on the official title. So I think I have one thing on the agenda and a different thing on the document itself. So we would need to vote on a title for this job. We need to look over the job description that I've prepared very carefully and decide if we want to make any changes and if we would like to move this forward in any way to budgeting and see if we can get it approved to hire a person like this. What would you like me to speak to specifically, sir?
I don't know that there is anything specifically other than just trying to get a idea of kind of where everything's going.
Okay, well, let me go a little bit farther and tell you this. One of the topics of conversation at our last meeting was whether this person would be similar to a Benny Line director, to where this person would have some autonomy to make some hiring, firing, scheduling decisions and that kind of thing, himself or herself. And that is, I believe, what the committee kind of liked, was the idea that this person would report to the Building and Grounds Committee. As for example, I keep using him as an example, but as Director Lyons reports to the Landfill Committee, this person would report to Building and Grounds Committee, but have the ability to make a lot of decisions on their own. We want this person to be extremely knowledgeable to the point that they can sort of be like a project manager for the county, working very closely with architectural engineering firms and contractors to see that the work is being done correctly and timely and so forth. They would also be in charge of the day-to-day maintenance of the building and grounds, repairs that can be done without bringing in more expensive firms. Just aware of safety, very good at communication with the public, because they may, end up in interviews from time to time. They may have to represent us at different meetings. So it's a very well-rounded, knowledgeable individual that we seek.
Okay, and I was just kind of looking through what your job description that you had written. It's very impressive. That's a lot of information to cover, a lot of information to take in. Okay. What does the committee feel like needs to be accomplished on this? Is it something that we need to take care of tonight, or is this something that can maybe wait to the next meeting? What do you all feel? Most of you all have been on this committee for quite some time, and for this discussion, where do we need to go with this?
I personally would like to see us move forward in the shortest amount of time in which you feel comfortable, Chairman, because it has been discussed by the commission for approximately a year. It's been discussed by this committee for several months. And I like to be a doer. I don't like to sit and talk about things forever. I'm kind of ready to move on to the next step, but of course, we all defer to your decision, Chairman Grindstaff.
Okay.
Chairman, I wouldn't mind to see us go forward on this. I'm totally in agreement with Ms. Holdren on that.
Okay. Really, I guess the next piece is making the determination of whether or not we would actually, and Josh can feel free to chime in any minute on the next steps on this, is making the determination of what position is going to be called, and if that position is going to answer directly to the building and ground, or to the building and grounds, and start, I guess, with that. What would be that process, Josh?
You can set it up that way. Usually a department head, if that's what this is, by default is appointed by the mayor, unless there's a statutory scheme somewhere else as far as directing how it's set up. So generally that's how a department head is done. I guess logistically, I mean, you got to look at, is there an office? Is there office space? If you're going to set up committee to manage or supervise this person, then that really needs to be at least a resolution to set up how that actually works. But as far as actually appointing the person, or it's all kind of a play on semantics. Either the mayor can name them and the commission confirms them, or whatever you want to call it, but that's essentially the process. The commission is going to vote at the end of the day on confirming the hiring of the person. So it's just a matter of setting up you've got the job qualifications or the person you're looking for. So it's a matter of setting the salary and physically where they report to every day and who they answer to.
Okay. So I guess where we're at with this is we're going to make that determination whether we want to push out or ask the county attorney to draft a resolution to push to the full commission. If that would be the case, that we want to set up building and grounds as the committee to that they kind of answer to, and then it would be up to the mayor, I guess, to appoint and us to go from there. What's the will of the committee? What do you all want to see?
If I might, Chairman.
Yes, please.
Ms. Culler, you chair a committee that manages a director level position. Can you tell us how that's going? How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't chair that committee as of Monday night, but.
Ms. Culler, you accidentally got muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I moved my cursor again. I no longer chair that, Mr. Hill, but it has gone well in the past. Of course, Benny's easy to work with, and he keeps in contact with the chair of that committee quite well and brings any issues to us. So I haven't seen a problem with that in the past.
Yeah, having sat on that committee previously, I felt like it worked pretty well as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I mean, that would just be basically a motion at this point to push that forward. And there are things that we would have to answer monetarily, name, basically what we're going to have them do. And I haven't had a chance to fully read through the job description here. It's fairly inclusive. And then we would have to, push that out and kind of make that aware of this is kind of what we were looking for. Ultimately, it would be up to once the county commission was to approve it and then move from there. So what's your will?
And Chairman, sorry.
ahead.
Well, just to chime in a little bit, and I don't want to complicate things, but the last thing I remember, or maybe it was last month or whatever, the month before, there was a larger conversation about a general county maintenance department. And, maybe this individual would have others under him or something to be like a countywide building maintenance division or department. And this person would be the department head. And I know you got to start somewhere, but that may be a thought as well.
Yeah, and I think you're correct. I think that the creation of this department, division, whatever you want to call that, and this position, your current maintenance individuals, janitorial staff would kind of fall under this person once this gets pushed forward. And then the expansion of that is dependent upon the county commission and what we see at that point. So floor is open for anything. You all have kind of sat on this a little bit longer than I have. I personally would like some more time to read over this job description just to give it my overview. It looks very well written and very, very well thought out. So I commend Commissioner Holden for that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, also at the time when they start to go out, I had recommended in previous meetings that first, before it goes to the public, that it is advertised within our county government because there are people who possess qualifications that meets that scope that you have there to review. And then if it's not anybody within our inner system, then go outside to seek it.
Correct, and I think that that's a possibility, although, that ultimate decision, I guess, or the ultimate decision is up to us if we confirm, if we set this up as a department. But the appointee would lie under the mayor's office as far as that goes. So, that would be something that we would definitely have to work with on making sure that individuals that are part of the county government already know that this position is available and if they're interested, put in for it.
Chairman, I would make a motion that we push this forward till the November agenda, at which time we would take that up as a item for the final decision to be made.
All right, I've got a motion by Commissioner Hill. Do I have a second?
I second it, Mr. Chair.
And a second by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing none. The only thing I'll add is I charge everyone to, if you haven't had a chance right now or haven't had a chance to review this maintenance supervisor job description, I can't say enough how well I think this is written, and be prepared to have a look at it and basically answer these questions of how much money roundabout, whether or not we're going to create a department or whether or not we are going to you know, what that shape of that department looks like, so that at that time, if we need to, we can inform Attorney Harden on what we need to draft. So with that being said, Ms. Gwen, please call the roll, please.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
I'm going to abstain because I've not seen it. So I abstain.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes. All right. 7 ayes and an abstention. We'll push this to November and put that back on the agenda for discussion at that point. Northeast State contract, I think that that's an ongoing discussion, and especially after tonight, the information that we've received, definitely something that is going to continue. And unless there's any other update on it, I think we'll just kind of put it off until we have that meeting. Next is the appraisal on the Whitehead adjoining property. Commissioners, does anyone have an update on that?
Mr. Grindstaff, I had actually had that conversation today with Mr. Miller, and he informed me that he promised he would have it to us by no later than the end of the week.
Okay. With that being said, we will appraise that information and, if necessary, take action at that point. If not, we'll push that to November. Month-to-month lease with the Forestry Service at the development complex. Has there been any new information on that?
Commissioner Grindstaff, they did reach out to me in a phone call last week, and she was supposed to submit all the info to me that she had discussed with Mayor Barnett, but I think the pricing had changed and some of their budget was cut, and now they're willing to just do $300 monthly towards the utilities. But she really hasn't sent me anything yet, so that's as far as we've gotten. And I think Commissioner James may know more, or Commissioner Holdren, as far as what the original plan was with taking one of the offices at the Workforce Development Complex.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Holder, Commissioner James, anything to add?
Chairman Grindstaff, to my best understanding, when the committee voted and approved on it, it was supposed to be $500 a month. I understood that we was under the assumption that, utilities was on top of that. And so me and the previous mayor was supposed to go up there together with the gentleman and find an office. Well, come find out later on, he had went up there with the gentleman and they had picked the office out, which was the office that used to be the former Kim that run the Carter County Tomorrow, which was in the suite that had its own private bathroom and everything with it. And so me and Mayor Woodby had discussed it, and they dropped back to only do $300 a month, and that was apparently utilities and everything. And I told her, I said, you don't get a private suite office for $300 a month. So she is currently in the process of moving files out of an office that's in the center of the complex they was using for storage. That would be, I believe, still a very good room for them. And there's a bathroom right across the way. So that's where me and her had discussed it would probably be the best way to probably place them if they was to get back together with us, because it was just sitting vacant, and $300 a month's better than nothing. Just would probably maybe put them on a month-to-month lease instead of locking them in for long term in the event that we needed to move them out or something.
Okay. Mayor Woodby, is whenever you hear anything on that, just let me know, and then
I
we'll.
will. It may be an agenda item for next month, so I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, no problem. I'll keep this on the agenda. Commissioner comments? Anybody?
I'd just like to say congratulations, Mr. Grindstaff.
No problem, Assistant Chair of the Building and Grounds Committee, Austin James. I greatly appreciate your assistance and your continuing efforts. I do want to say thank you all. I know this has been kind of rough. I'm coming in. I know some things, I don't know others. So I've got 2 pages full of notes. I'm going to make the contacts I said that I would make, and I will have something back for us either in an email or at the next committee meeting. So I greatly appreciate you all. And if there's no other business, no other comments, then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I think that was a motion for adjournment. I heard Randall, and then I think Commissioner Holden is a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned.
Like you want next?
Sure, mine's super short with one agenda item.
Short and sweet.
Exactly. Okay, so it is 8:45 p.m. and I will call the Carter County Law Enforcement Committee to order at this time using the roll call from the previous 2 meetings and open the floor for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I just emailed it right before the meeting.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion from Commissioner Grindstaff, second from Commissioner Culler. Any discussion, amendments, additions, deletions? And with that, all in favor, reply with aye.
Aye.
Point of
Those
order,
opposed, reply.
Chairman, the point of order, an aye vote is not acceptable. It has to be called by name.
Okay, sorry, I tried to move it along. Ms. Gwen, if you would mind to do the roll call vote, please.
Chairman, could I ask a question as county attorney? Do we have to do that? Cause I listened into the meetings last night. Some of them did it, some of them didn't.
Yeah, everything on these Zoom meetings is supposed to be a roll call voice vote. And you're supposed to make sure you're identifying yourself or your name's getting called. So folks who don't have video or, can hear these later and understand who's talking and how everybody's voting.
Understood completely. Ms. Gwen, if you will, call the roll, please.
Randall Jenkins,
Yeah.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Austin James. I'm sorry, Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Tanja Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Okay, agenda is approved. The one and only item tonight is election of officers. I will open the floor at this time for nominees for chair of the Law Enforcement Committee. It's a pretty sweet gig. There's not much to do. The Sheriff's Department has had very few issues to bring to the commission through us. And I have to say it's one of the easiest bits I've done in serving these last 6 years. So with that sales job, I'll open the floor for any willing workers.
Mike, it sounds like you're willing to take it again. I'll nominate you if you'd like.
I was so totally hoping to just sort of assign this. I think it needs to be someone that knows the secret handshake of the fraternity, if you know what I mean. But if you don't have anybody, I'm happy to continue to not convene as necessary.
So close with acclamation.
Second,
Second.
So that was a nominee for Commissioner Mike Hill to continue
You got it.
with the motion that nominations cease and elect by a vote of acclamation. Ms. Gwen, any discussion?
I'll teach you the handshake if you need to know it, too.
I need to know the secret handshake. I think that's what I'm missing on this deal.
I've been trying to tell you that all along, and you won't pay any attention.
If you would call the roll, please, for this lynching.
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Color,
yes.
and Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Oh, gee. Well, with that, I hate you all, and I'm never coming back here again. However, there's still the unfinished matter of vice chair of the committee. I'll open the floor at this time for nominees for the cherry position of vice chair of the Law Enforcement Committee.
Since Johnson knows the handshake, can we put Johnson in, please?
I'll second that on Johnson.
Have a nomination for Brad Johnson.
Why do you smile? Why?
Because I haven't gotten to like do stuff with you much. That wouldn't be so bad.
Oh, I don't worry about it.
Motion to cease and accept by acclamation vote.
Second, Acuff.
Okay, so any discussion? With that, Ms. Gwen, please call the roll.
Randall Jenkins,
Yeah.
Mike Hill,
Yes, ma'am.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sonja Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
I think that was it. It looks like it was unanimous. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations, Commissioner Johnson. Look forward to working with you. With that, we'll move into, I don't think there probably could be commissioner comments. Anyone?
Yes, I have a question. Do you all not have secretaries on any of these committees? Just in
We
case.
have Gwen.
What happens if she were to get sick and couldn't be at your meeting?
And Randall does it.
We ad lib.
Well,
I
the
think we ought
agreement,
to
what
put
the
Miss
agreement,
Collins there. I believe she's itching for that job.
Well, actually, Austin, if you were paying attention, I'm only sitting in for Mr. Prophet. I'm not actually on this committee.
Well, that usually, as it happened to me last time, if you're not there the first meeting, you usually end up secretary. So,
Oh, that's been my case. Ms. Collins, I think most of the time the chairmans take care of their own minutes or we record and Ms. Gwen can go back and redo them. As long as
Okay,
we're Zoom.
I was just checking.
Over here in Buildings and Grounds land, we work it out, ma'am.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
at the original onset of creating the recorder for the standing committees only, it was additional funds was placed in the budget of the county court clerk for that person to be present at our meetings and to scribe all minutes and agendas throughout the month. And in their absence, if it comes sick or whatever, The county court clerk is to have one of the other employees to attend the meeting.
Yeah.
And that is a matter of the record. That's standing committees only.
Okay, with that, any further comments?
Yeah, just real quick, Mr. Chair. I'd like to add that Abby had sent out an email earlier this afternoon referencing the Sheriff's Department Halloween trunk or treat. They're gonna be hosting a free family trunk or treat on Saturday, October the 31st from 5 to 8 p.m. In the parking lot at the annex, which is the sheriff's office over here in the clerk's office. Of course, if anybody'd like to donate candy, they're asking for us to maybe drop it off at the mayor's office and bring it over.
For Grindstaff, could I get that time and date again, please?
Yes, it is, and I'll send you the little email as well, but it's October the 31st from 5 to 8 p.m. in the sheriff's office parking lot.
Does the committee want to have a presence at this event?
Now, that's Halloween night, Mike. You know, if you made our list at nighttime when we come and we do our treat.
I forgot I was gonna be TP your house, but I'll be busy that night.
Yeah, I know
Mike,
you
if you
will,
make-
chopping your way out of Fork Mountain. That's it.
If you make Brad miss his bowl of ice cream, he will not be happy.
5 minutes left.
Sorry I asked. I don't know what I was thinking.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, reply with aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Bye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, people.
All right, I'll call rules and bylaws to order with the same roll call as the other meetings. Approval of the agenda. The only thing I see that I messed up on is I didn't put September on there. I put August minutes. So if everybody can just not pay attention to that part, it would be September minutes. Other than that, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second, Isaiah Grindstaff.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Queen, can you please call roll?
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so approval of September minutes. I hear a motion.
Mike
I'll make a
Hill.
motion.
I'll second. Mike Hill.
All right, who was the motion? I'm sorry. All right, any discussion? Seeing none. Gwen, please.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Same.
Ginger Holdren, Ms. Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Culler,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Abstain.
Okay. Passes. Public comments. I don't see any public on, so just cruise right by that. Election of chairperson. I will open up the floor for nominations.
I nominate Randall Jenkins.
I would second that.
Well, thank you. Any other nominations?
Who was the nomination by?
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Chairman, I move that nominations cease and that we elect by acclamation.
Isaiah Grandstaff seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Call the roll, please.
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. I'll do my best, as always. I'll open the floor back up for vice chair. Don't everybody jump up and down at one time.
Even though he's not on here, I would nominate Thomas Profit as vice chair.
Second.
Motion that nominations cease and vote by acclamation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? It's usually secretary that gets voted in when they're not here, but that's a good one.
I think it's the initiation of just missing a meeting.
Absolutely. You don't miss this meeting. This is the one you don't miss. I found that out on Billboard.
Yes, you did, Randall.
All right. So, Gwen, can you please call the roll, please?
Randall Jenkins,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Robert Acuff,
They've been waiting for this.
Robert Acuff,
Yes.
Dadgummit.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Sandra Color,
Yes.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes.
All right. So I have no new business tonight. I'll move on to old business. Update on RCP. We have a training session set up again for this coming Tuesday. Our first one, well, it went pretty good. The second one will be in the main courtroom, and we're going to do a live run with our equipment that we will be using, and hopefully Anthony will have everything in place by then. I haven't heard from him, but I'm sure we'll get it all together by next Tuesday. But I'll let you know how it goes after that. Isaiah was there last time. You plan on being there this time, Isaiah?
What time did you say that was, Randy?
That's a good question. I don't have my email open.
If it's we have, I was saying we have some training that starts next week. So if it's during the day, I'll end up having to miss that. But I can have the app as we discussed up and running. And if you want me to, pretend to vote on something, I'll be more than happy to assist that way.
Absolutely. Well, if there's anything, I'll reach out to you. I appreciate all your help on that. All right. There's nothing on the next one, reapportionment committee, no action tonight. There is a update on advertising only with the Johnson City Press. I do have an update on that. We voted to send that on through to budget, and that might be troublesome. Comes to find out, our current cost with the Star for a 3-day RPS for a 3-day run for an ad is anywhere from $70 to $85. If we went solely with the press, RPS with them for a 3-day run would be $400. So quite a big difference there. So it looks like we might be sticking with the Star. Totally up to you all, but I really thought I'd bring that back to you all before I presented that budget.
Chairman Jenkins, might I, because I think I'd asked you about this when it came up in committee, so might I ask you something else?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I mean, I understand it's a little bit more, but when you only get in the paper one day a week, clearly it ought to be a fraction of the cost. So, you know, that's my only problem. And that's why we was looking at doing anything different was at some point in time, if we have to do a special called meeting or something arises and we need to get it in the paper, you're on such a tight time frame of trying to get anything published, and the viewers that looks at the Star anymore is such a slim number. You're just not reaching the public to let them know when we're doing stuff. And so that was the main concern when this would come up, but that's all.
And okay, well, that's a very good point. And we could always choose to do it with our commission advertising. When it comes down to each office holder, really ultimately it's their decision to choose who they advertise through. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Josh. So I'm at the will of you guys right here. You just let me know which direction, and I'll go that way. So,
Mr. Chair, Isaiah Grindstaff.
Yes, sir.
I kind of want to echo what Mr. James said. Yeah, I know we can't force any office holder to utilize a specific company to kind of do their advertising with. I know that, there's been certain things that have come up. RFPs is the number one thing I can think of off the top of my head, where run stuff in the Star, run stuff in the Star, run stuff in the Star. We try to get it out there as much as we can. And, there either just wasn't anybody that was seeing it in the Star, or there just wasn't anybody that was willing to bid on it. And then you go back and you talk to people and they're like, oh, well, if I'd only known, well, it's in the Star. Well, I don't get the Star, So that's one thing that, even if we don't do the whole county, there are different components and different pieces that I think that we were to make the money available for at least finance to be able to do for RFPs, special called meetings, things of that nature, that which would be the clerk's office, of course, that really need to be put out there and make sure that we get them to at least the largest amount as possible. The only other thing I could ask would be to ask Josh, would be the county attorney, to see if that would potentially cause a problem with not kind of doing a set paper if we were kind of bouncing stuff around that way.
Josh?
It could, I would stick with one paper for our traditional, every month advertisements of meeting times and that kind of thing. Certainly special called meetings, the more notice, the better. Put it in both papers. The whole goal is to let the public know. So if it's not a huge expense, the more advertisement, the better. Certainly RFPs, you're going to get a much wider audience. The individual office holders probably not doing a heck of a lot of advertisement. I know, like in the clerk and master's office, you can pick, like if you're going to probate in the state, you can pick which publication you want. And in that office, it's always been a little cheaper to do the press than the Star, ironically. So that's what I always do, because why pay more? But anyway, certainly if you're going to have standard every month advertisements, I would stick with one paper, and the Star is fine if that's what we've always used. But I agree with you, in certain situations, the press has got a much wider readership.
Absolutely. So I talked, my point on this was Michael Kennedy, and him went into discussion about this. And there is online resources that we can use, and slowly but surely they've been putting a database together of people that have reached out to prior RFPs, and they keep that going. And they actually, when we have one, they send those RFPs out, whichever ones we have, to that running list as we speak. That's what they're doing. So, that's one thing I was glad to hear that. But so if I can take it to budget, if you guys would like, and I just need to know clear direction if we're going to solely do it in the press, or do it in both, or what.
Chairman Jenkins, that figure that you give us, was that a negotiated rate trying to negotiate with them, or is that just?
So that actually was a discounted, the 400 was a discounted rate of 15%.
Okay.
So, and Michael handled all that negotiation. He reached out to him and did that, and they came back. When they said discounted price, I was like, yeah, this is sounding good. And then he came back with a discount $400. But like in all comparison, 1 day a week compared to 7 days a week, or whatever. Of course, it's a 3-day run, no matter what. So.
Well, the Star is actually 2 days a week, but
Well, let me point, I'm a little confused on the pricing. On most of the things, I know the RFPs and stuff may run a number of days, but most of the advertisements for meetings or whatever, those are just one-shot deals. If we got it in the, Sunday paper or whatever, one time is sufficient. So I don't know about the recurring ads for most of the things.
Well, the numbers that he gave me, or that I have in front of me that I wrote down and to get was just for RFP. So meeting costs, I'll have to go back and check.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Harden, but RFPs, they run for a pretty good amount of time longer, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's certainly you want to get it out there. I think they run at least a couple of weeks. Even in a legal publication, if you got to do a publication service on somebody, that requires 4 straight weeks of publication. And usually through the clerk's office, it's like $70 or something to run 4 times. So I don't know if maybe they're quoting you like a big space in the paper or something, but I would think that was a little rich for just a normal, notice ad in the legal section.
Well, I would suggest now, with all that being said, I will go back and I'll get with Michael, or I'll reach out to the press myself, and we'll go from there. And I'll have more information for you guys next month. Sound good? All right. Any other business that I missed tonight? If not, open up the floor for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second, Acuff.
All in favor of saying yes?
yes.
Yes.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Nah.
Nice, John boy.